So in this little clip, I'd just like to talk a little bit about why Steve Peters chose to describe our limbic system as the chimp. Why didn't he pick some other metaphor for us? And to a degree, we've already covered off one of the reasons why it's such an appropriate way to think about your inner world, and that is that from the chimp's perspective, the world around it is like the jungle. And yes, the limbic system navigates our environment with much the same set of rules and the same lens as it would do were we, in fact, a chimp. It's because that particular part of the brain is so old that it is shared by pretty much all living things, especially mammals and the higher primates. What's useful to us here is the recognition of the fact that if that is the way that brain operates and that's how it experiences the world around it, it's going to see it very differently to the way that rational us would, to the way that our human would, indeed the way our CEO might. So that's why it's such a useful metaphor. It also helps us understand that just like a chimpanzee, it's much faster and much stronger than a human, and therefore in an arm wrestle it is likely to win. But it also helps us understand how certain resources might be viewed. Resources, let's say, like territory. So cast your mind back to the last time you were watching a good old David Attenborough nature documentary, especially one about higher primates, and the chances are that at some point territory will have come up. Why? Because territory is the thing that gives that troop, that group of chimpanzees, everything that it is going to need. It provides them with food. It provides them with safety, a place to sleep at night, and also a place to socialize, to play all their complex political games, and yes, of course, raise their young. So territory is of vital importance in the natural world, and almost every species out there will go to considerable lengths to protect it. So it's really useful for us to just pause and think, well, what might territory be or look like to us, to our limbic systems in our modern worlds? And in many ways, it's not that different. We feel very strongly about the safety and security of our home, for example, and that would make perfect sense to us. Quite often we're paying a large amount of money for it, or we have paid a large amount of money for it. It is ours. But notice the energy with which we would protect that. It's ours. We bought it. It's ours. We're paying for it. That is very limbic energy. We care very deeply about territory. This extends to our cars. And here's where things start to get a little bit interesting, because if anyone else on the road behaves in a way that we consider to be unsafe, unreasonable, disrespectful, rude, you name it, it's a very long list, we will start to feel territorial. We feel territorial when we get cut up because someone hasn't quite given us enough space to maneuver properly. We get territorial if someone parks in our favourite parking space or blocks our house or something like that. The reason why is because this is territory. And yes, to the limbic system, territory matters. But here's a bit I particularly love, and I think it's absolutely brilliant. Territory extends into the office, if you still work in an office and have a designated desk. If you don't anymore, you might want to remember back to the days of old where we did typically have a designated desk. And yes, you guessed it, from the limbic system's perspective, a desk is territory. IT equipment that's ours is territory. And we very often aren't particularly pleased if someone else is encroaching on our territory, but they're maybe a bit messy and their stuff is beginning to come into our zone, or someone else sits in our chair and then changes the height. Heaven forbid our territory should get moved unexpectedly without our permission in the age-old fun and games of the office move or a desk move. So, territory, a really nice illustration of why From the limbic brain's perspective, the chimp is such a great descriptor, and hopefully it will give you some idea of a helpful place to explore should you want to discover yours.